has various meds, and the meds help with the Crohn's, but the meds give you all types of problems. So this morning it was a bleeding scalp, and I mean, my daughter came in the still of the night to us, and then I she's an exceptionally strong sister. Don't just look at her and judge her, but she's fighting a battle. I mean, when you got one child and the enemy's coming against that one child, and that's quite a battle. So I mean, this was like the straw that could break the camel's back. When you keep going through stuff, folks, it's that point you get through. You ain't the only one. I look at some of these women's purses I do business with, and I say, good God Almighty, ain't no room for a purse, ain't no room for a billfold, because there's pills in there. A pill to wake up, a pill to go to sleep, a pill to help with your nerves, a pill to help you get going, a pill after lunch period, a pill to go home. And I'm telling you, that's just where we're living in this day. So many of us are stretched by pressure. So many of us are fighting battles that nobody else can see. They looking at you, and you don't look like half what you've been through. But deep down on the inside, you're struggling. You're fighting battles. You're dealing with things that are way beyond your control. Child of God, I'm telling you that there are times that you just surrounded by opposition. Everybody can't be smooth like Brother Mike back there. Everybody can't be smooth. Brother Mike, I hope you ain't looking. Well, I'm going to leave that one alone. I forgot she's taping. But there are just some days where everywhere you look, you see war clouds. My brother and sister, the enemy knows that his time is short. And so he's coming at the saints of God with everything but the kitchen sink, and his ultimate aim is to instill fear. You have to realize that the enemy doesn't fight fair. We grew up with that thing, this is going to be a fair fight. You don't fight the enemy. He doesn't fight fair. Ain't no one-on-one with the enemy. You think that he's after you and he's looking for collateral damage. He's trying to take out your grandbaby, Mother Bell, because if he affects you, he affects your kids, and he affects your kids, he affects your grandbaby. So we're looking and we're fighting battles that we think the enemy's coming at us just one way, but the enemy's coming at us every way that we can look. I know that everybody's got a thing. That man that's in the White House with that orange hair, that's enough to make you feel like you need to take some medicine from time to time. I almost said that. We got a guy that looks like nothing can touch him, nothing can get him, and the forces that are running against him now, I look at him and I'm like, Lord, you're talking about Looney Tunes. I don't know whether this candidate or that candidate, but I mean, I'm not excited about any of them. Now, how many of you all know that there's going to be some folks that are not excited enough to vote? And if they're not excited enough to vote, if we don't watch it, we'll be going through this again. And I'm praying for a turnaround. I'm praying that we don't have to deal with this again. But I promise that may be a blessing in disguise. The right person in the White House may put us on our knees. Maybe when things were good, when Obama was in the White House, that made us want to stay at home on Sunday and wash the car and make sure the rims all tight. But this man gonna have so many folks praying that there ain't gonna be no empty seats in Temple of Love. Because if he makes it back in there, we're going to be praying all the day long. I'm telling you that there are literally days, if you look in your finite strength, and you look at what you have in your own strength, that the enemy seems to have you outnumbered. The Bible says that if God be for us, he's more than the world against us. Child of God, I'm telling you, I've had some days when I've been surrounded by opposition. Yes, my money, I've had problems in my money. The late Bishop G.E. Patterson was talking about me. He said, Steve, I've counseled one-on-one, and I thank the Lord for those experiences that I had with that man one-on-one, and I ain't got to tell nobody a lie because the door was closed, and I'm with the presiding bishop. And he told me, he said, Steve, there's 2 times when there's problem in a marriage. I said, okay, Bishop, what is that? Break that down for me. He said, from counseling couples over years, there's 2 times, and guess what those 2 times are? He said, when the money get funny, and he said, when the honey get funny. Oh, that was so profound. So there's some folks out there with money that's funny, and There's some folks out there with some honey that's funny. I'm telling you, I'm speaking a word that folks are fighting battles where you can't see. Most of us are suffering on the inside. You're looking on the outside, and we're dressed up, and Mike looks so good, but you don't know what Mike is dealing with on a daily basis. People are fighting demons. They're waking up, hearing things, speaking to them in the middle of the night. All the things that my mama told me, my grandmother told me, my Sunday school teacher told me, we're seeing it come to pass right in front of our very eyes. I'm telling you that I've been surrounded by opposition, and the only way that I keep my mind, I've worked at times where I worked with Judas and all of his cousins. I dealt with Judases, Brutuses, and 7 other them that come against me, that they tell a lie on you, that Steve did that, now that I'm a boss. And I'm the one that hired them and open the door for you, and then 2 weeks after you hire them, they flip on you. He thinking that he's so much. He didn't think that they're not going to put in the time and put in the work and put in the effort that you did. They think that you just made it somewhere meaningful overnight. So folks, you're going to be surrounded by opposition. If you don't want opposition, you don't want greatness. Every time that you want to be great, every time that you want the world to take note of you, somebody's going to be upset about it. Yes, you got a hater. The hater doesn't want anybody else to like you, but the main thing that the hater doesn't want you to, well, the main thing what a hater wants to do to you, they don't want you to like yourself. Child of God, I'm speaking the word to you on this morning that even though you're surrounded by opposition, I looked to the left and I saw enemies. I looked to the right and I saw some more enemies. I looked ahead and I looked way back there and I saw enemies. It looked like enemies were coming from every way. That I was surrounded by enemies, surrounded by opposition, surrounded by things coming at me. But but the text told us that there are more with us than they that be with them. So I'm telling you that it's time for some of us to open our eyes. It's time for some of us to have an eye-opening experience with God. You stop sitting back. You stop looking at things in the natural. You stop looking at things in your finite power. Yet God be for me. He's more than against me. Psalm 27 says that the Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? When the wicked, even my enemies and my foes, came upon me to eat up my flesh, they stumbled and fell. Though a host shall encamp about me, my heart shall not fear. Though war shall rise against me, in this thing will I be confident. It says this, in the time of trouble, he shall hide me. Have any of you all been in a time of trouble? Have any of you all been in a time of trouble? He shall hide me in the pavilion. In the secret of his tabernacle shall he hide me. He shall set me upon the rock. Matthew 5 verse 10 said, blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sakes, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are thee when men shall revile you, persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely for my name's sake. Rejoice and be exceedingly glad, for great is your reward in heaven. I remember when the church used to say, when I was a little boy, we used to sing, get right with God and do it now. We used to sing, get right with God and he will show you how. Then when I got a little older, I remember how you Christ coming down singing the song, and we said he would not come down from the cross just to save himself, but he decided to die just to save me. John 15 verse 13, greater love have no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends. Hebrews 9 verse 22, it said, without the shedding of blood, there's no remission. Romans 5 and 8, but God commended his love towards us, that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. Jesus was stung by betrayal. I'm going to talk to you about some opposition. You're serving a God that faced opposition. He was mocked. Jesus was slapped. He was beaten. His arms were broken. Jesus was spat upon. Jesus was up all night. Jesus was scourged. He carried the crossbar of the cross in the midst of his suffering. This part of the cross was called the patibulum, which weighed 75 to 125 pounds. Jesus was scourged with a short whip called a flagrum, which had several braided leather thongs. These tore into and ripped up his flesh. Isaiah 53 states that Jesus was despised and rejected of men, a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief. It further stated that he was oppressed and afflicted. One theologian stated that the instances of one who would die for a friend are very rare, but one who would die for those who were his enemies are totally unique. So I asked the doctor in Romans 5:8 says, while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. I said, doctor, what killed him? And the doctor said that he could have died of hypovolemic shock because of the incredible blood loss. He could have died of circulatory shock due to the pain and the blood loss. He could have died of dehydration. He could have died of exhaustion, asphyxia. He could have died of a painful periostral injury derived from the nails. He could have died of hemohydrosis, that's called bloody sweat. He could have died of stress-induced arrhythmia. He could have died from the great emotional stress and the great mental anguish. He could have died of cardiac rupture or acute heart failure. He could have died of cardiorespiratory failure. He could have died from the scourging, which led to contusions that were results from the cuts in his bones and the cuts in his subcutaneous tissue. But when I thought about it, they said that he would not come down from the cross just to save himself. Your sins killed him. My sins killed him. He died to save you and me. Child of God, I'm speaking the word to you right now. I'm telling you that God looked over the time past that he could have cursed the cross until he could have cursed the cross before it ever became a tree. He could have cursed the sun until it refused to shine. But I'm telling you that our God came up. He was surrounded by opposition. But he died to be in. That's why Isaiah 53 says, surely he has borne our griefs and carried our sorrows. And we didn't esteem him stricken, smitten of God, and afflicted. But he was wounded for our transgression, bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement of our peace was placed upon him, and with his stripes we are healed. Our child of God, I'm speaking that word to you, and I'm telling you, I'm speaking that God has helped me in 1,000,001 times when I've been surrounded by opposition. I thought I was going down for the count. I thought I was going under, but I put my trust in God. My hope is built in nothing less than Jesus and his righteousness. I'm telling you, on Christ, the solid rock I stand. All other ground is sinking sand. I'm preaching the paint off the wall. I'm telling you because I'm not telling you somebody else's testimony. I'm telling you what God has done for me. He took me from the background. Now Steve's all up in the forefront. He took me where they said I was down and gone, and you might as well bury me. And he gave me life. He gave me abundant life. He's rising me up, lifting me higher, and I'm here, blessed with the opportunity to serve Temple Love. We gonna go. The city's gonna see us go. We gonna rise up. They gonna say, how them church people do all of that. I'm speaking this word to you that God's got a way. You may be surrounded by opposition. Is there anybody here dealing with any opposition? Let me hear you.